Next item is adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Carabelli.
Second, Haw.
Brown.
Moved by Carabelli, supported by Haw. Please vote.
That motion passes unanimously.
Okay, public participation. Does anyone wish to be heard? Okay, I'll just do public participation and then I'll hand it over to Chair Brown. Public participation, if you would like to speak, let's start with the phone calls. Does anyone wish to be heard? Anyone wish to be heard? Anybody online that would wish to be heard?
Might need a note they have to push *6 in order to be heard.
Thank you. Yeah, if you're having a hard time speaking, please hit *6. Okay, anyone on the virtual meeting? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public participation. Dawn, are you ready to take over?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item 5 is a presentation, CARES Act funding. William Wood, are you present? Good. No. Who's present? Who's present?
CARES, this is Vicky, CARES Act. It's me and Steve Schmiegel.
Yeah, I've got you. I'm sorry about that. Thank you. Go ahead, Vicky.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. As requested and promised, we have some updated information for you regarding our overall budget, as well as specifically the CARES Act funding that the county received. Within your packet are the budget documents in the same format that we submitted for last month's meeting. You have the document right from our One Solution program, another one that's downloaded with some notes on them that Steve Schmiegel created for all of us. Last time we met, which was May 21st, the overall expenditures were at $4.9 million. And again, this is a cumulative budget and report for all the grants we've received in addition to the CARES Act funding. And as of the date of this report from June 5th, we now have expenditures of basically $7.8 million. Really the two largest items that have changed since the last report from May is essentially payroll costs and in the crisis pay category. And then we had more payments made and orders for personal protective equipment. So those are the two largest items out of the actual budget itself. Then also within your packet is a more detailed report about the CARES funding itself, which is the $152 million. We tried to break that down into our known categories and project areas to give a little more detail. I was going to run through the list and then we can basically move on to questions, or I'll ask Steve if he has anything else to add. But if you're looking at the CARES spending plan, our largest category is our business grants or open for business program of $70 million. Of that $70 million, we have $5 million allocated toward PPE kits for businesses that are opening, include masks, hand sanitizer, thermometers, things like that the businesses can get from us. As of today, we have 1,164 kits prepared, and our average cost for each kit is $241 per kit. We started releasing those kits last week to the businesses, and that has been extremely busy, as you can imagine, and continues to be a well-received program out within the community. Then we next have $65 million set for basically grants for businesses, And so far what we have done and have planned is, if you'll remember from our first round of grants that we gave out with money from the MEDC and other organizations, we had approximately 200 businesses that we were not able to fulfill with grants. So we allowed those 200 businesses to apply again in a simple format if they were still interested in receiving any grants. So we're happy to report today that out of those 200 businesses, 129 have resent an application in, and we're actually processing checks to them as we speak today. And again, those grants are for $5,000 each. So that is going on. Our next grant program out of there is, again, small business grants in the amount of $5,000 initially. We have a $20 million pot that we're working from now. Information on that program is available on the website. Mark Hackle is going to be doing a Facebook Live tomorrow to talk more about the availability for those applications and what we're doing there. Also concurrently, actually, as of today, through Vicki Rad in her office, she has put together a task force of the chambers, different business community leaders, different sectors within the community, and they are currently looking at the process and program for the next round of grants and what that will look at and what potentially maybe different industries or businesses to target with subsequent rounds of funding that we have. Kind of the thought processes is, yes, we want to get some money out the door, especially to the small businesses who are now able to open up and help to try to sustain them, but then also somewhat phase the money so we can look at and see where the economy continues to go, and if we continue to take a downturn, and see how we can best spend those funds for the businesses in the county. Our next project area is our labor costs. I think we're all familiar with that. Right now we have 10 million targeted for expenditures. Steve has it broken down as of to where we think we're going to be at the end, but 3 areas. We have the employee reassignments for personnel that are being reassigned to work in a different area within the county, such as Meals on Wheels or the health department. Then there's overtime pay, of course, and then the crisis pay that we are providing to employees as well. When you look at those 3 amounts that are laid out there, again, that's from a budgetary factor. And when you're looking at the crisis pay, there's a note there of we've basically spent $1.5 million in crisis pay through June 5th. That's probably going to be our largest area at this point in time for our labor costs. Our next project area is our PPE equipment and cleaning. We have basically $9.2 million set aside for PPE. And right now with cleaning, we've spent roughly $714,000. Again, that was basically to have all the facilities fogged. At this time, we're managing the cleaning through F&O and sometimes using outside resources if we need to, if it's a larger area. But that's really just a more thorough cleaning job and not necessarily the fogging that's a little more expensive. On the PPE side, within this category, we have approximately $3.7 million spent through the date of this report. And as I've stated before, that will be an ongoing expenditure. We need that PPE not only for ourselves as county departments, but also that's for hospitals, the long-term care facilities. We have our first responder community that needs that. Now that we have a testing site, obviously we have to keep the workers out there, make sure they have the proper PPE. So we expect that expenditure to continue. Facility protections, that is for our own departments as we start to bring our employees back to work and anticipate them engaging not only with one another, but with the public. F&O continues to go out to the departments and survey their needs, and we have started to get some quotes and some orders placed But as of yet, really have no expenditures in those areas, but we're targeting right around 2 million. And again, those are very long lead times. In some cases, you're looking at a minimum of 4 to 5 weeks just to get materials in. And then obviously there is the installation piece that goes along with that. Next project area is our COVID-19 testing area. We've set aside 15 million through here. Really don't have any large expenses in this area. We started our congregate care testing where we have strike teams going out within the county and going to particular sites. That started last week and really will continue as long as we need to. Happy to say we opened our county drive-through testing site on Monday. It opened to county employees today. It opened to the public. I actually was out there working this afternoon this morning with the crew, and it went very well. So you learn a lot of things, how you set it up, make some adjustments throughout the day. But a lot of great work went into that, and I think that's really going to serve our community well. And that drive-through testing site is over at the old juvenile court building. Also, as part of this is the Public Works project that they are taking on to take a look at and test wastewater within the county. That project is starting in Clinton Township. I believe there's 7 test sites that they're looking at for that. And again, it's to be able to track COVID through that system and see if you can tell where there's any spikes based on the water samples taken from there. That actually, you see that going on in a few areas across the nation, actually, and in other countries. So we had an opportunity to be able to partake in that program. And that project we're estimating at $1 million for the Public Works test project. IT purchases, we have 12 million set aside in this category. We've listed out several projects with IT. Not necessarily going to go through every one of those at this point in time. I can tell you we've had several meetings with IT. We have a number of projects that they had at a higher or more urgent level that we have approved internally as of yesterday, just to get moving forward through the process. But again, a lot of those are related to remote work environments for some expenses that we've already done, but also to further along our remote capabilities. Many of them cybersecurity. We have GIS updates. We've done a lot of work in the GIS area through COVID and items that we put out on our website. So there are a number of different items here. And if you have specific questions on that, Jaco is on the call as well. Municipal relief program, we talked about this. We set $10 million aside for our jurisdictions to recoup some of their expenses. It's reimbursement based. I know I sent you all the email once we had those allocations computed, and then also you can see them here today. Again, that was based on population and then the number of positive cases within each community. We have a call with jurisdictional leadership tomorrow, where we will be providing some more definitive information on that process and what that will look like. So we're looking forward to that and getting that project off the ground as well, and getting those dollars out to the communities. We have $3 million set aside for Martha Teaberry. We're looking at payroll costs for them. There's some PPE expenditures. They've had to do some cleaning over there. So we have that funding set aside. Basically the same thing for community mental health, and then any other program needs that they may have within their service area. Morgue operations, I spoke to this before. With COVID, we calculated, I believe that we were short 40 morgue spaces within the facility, and that we were starting to cause issues within our hospitals and in other areas for our capacity. So we have that project is ongoing. We actually had a meeting yesterday with the architects to start laying out the specs and getting those documents together. So we're moving forward with that one quite quickly, just again, because it's a longer lead time project since it has to do with the renovation of their facility at the morgue. Education program, we have $5 million set aside to partner with the schools for any needs that they have stated before. And as we continue to meet with them, it looks like their largest need is going to be within personal protective equipment. They're just starting to work through some of their plans on what the school year may look like come August or September. And again, so far, that is still continues to be what they're targeting for us is their PPE needs for staff and the children. And then our last project area is for our vulnerable populations, roughly 11.5 million set aside for that program. Those are a lot of areas within there, as you can imagine, but that does include our homeless, working with the homeless and any of those programs, any of our programs for the seniors, Meals on Wheels. We've been doing senior care packages, direct assistance to those that are in need, whether it be with their rent or mortgage, utility assistance. We have some outreach programs within their homes to make any modifications there that they may need. So we had a really good meeting with MCA and the leaders from that department yesterday, and we're continuing to finalize some of their projects and looking for some different ways to maybe partner with some organizations out there that can help us with some of that service delivery so that we're not necessarily have to taking that all on ourselves and continuing to tax our employees. We want to make sure we can get the programs out the door and obviously get the money out the door as quickly as possible due to the need. So we're looking at some partnerships that may be able to help us with that. And that is basically our overview with a few more details from the last time that we met. Steve, I don't know if he's on the call. Looks like he just sent me a text. He lost internet connection and he's reconnecting.
All right. Well, are you finished, Vicki? Are we going to ask them?
Yes.
Start asking questions from Steve. It's back.
Yep. Sure. Yep. No, I'm done with the presentation.
Good job as always. Thank you very much. Commissioner Majak.
Great. Can everybody hear me okay?
We can hear you fine, Robert.
Okay, great. Okay. Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's safe and well. Vicki, thank you very much for this presentation. I got a couple questions. I know there's other speakers who are going to speak, so I'm not going to ask questions for this whole document. Let me just first start with this, Vicki. So all these spending categories, is this something that the executive's office, you and Schmiegel Finance, all you guys put together and prioritize all these funding and these dollars?
Yes, I mean, and we did in a larger group than just us, but yes,
Right.
Through the EOC process with other department leaders, obviously working with partners in the community. We work with Plant Moran as well, because obviously we have to make sure that that we're meeting as much as we all understand the guidance to be from the Department of Treasury. So yes, there were a lot of people that
Great.
were part of this process.
Great. Okay, I guess I'll start with questions a little bit at the green columns. Open for business grants, 70 million. Just a couple questions there. So I'm just kind of doing the math here. So the grants there, it says 65 million is what we have. We've spent about my understanding, looking at my writing here, we spent 5,000 per business, 129 businesses. So we spent about $645,000 out of the 65 million, to my understanding. So that just means that, I mean, we have a lot of money left over to deal with this in the coming future. Is that correct?
Correct, right. And we have the application process open right now for our next round of 20 million. I believe those applications are open for open tomorrow. And then they're held open for 2 weeks till the June 24th.
Great.
Is the date. And then I did mention that committee that Vicki Rad's put together with the task force, again, of community members, the chambers, that are looking at subsequent rounds of funding. And again, I'd like to add that Plant Moran's participated in that process and has helped us create the applications and will help to oversee the vetting process for that and assist us with qualifications of the businesses. And that, again, is helping greatly so that we can then get the money out the door.
Right. So let me ask this. So like I said, we've only spent over 600,000. So we're just getting started with the expenditures of this 65 million. Because this is a large amount of money and because this is very important to our business community, do you have any idea when we're going to spend all of that? I mean, how long will that last? I know it depends on how many businesses file for the grant, but any idea on how long that would last?
It's pure speculation at this point in time, because I think with the task force that we're looking at, the next round of 20 million, I'm thinking, we could have the next round of 20 million out by mid-July. And then though with some of the subsequent rounds, you may see larger grants that are given to larger businesses, obviously that have a different need maybe than a small business, depending on what the criteria is. So if it's not the $5,000 grants, you could have a business, that maybe gets $100,000 or a few businesses that get that. So you could start to see, some of the money go out, a little faster based on that. But again, that's what that task force is looking at and the next set of criteria.
Great. Okay, and then the next item down, a couple lines lower, under PPE equipment cleaning, I'm looking at the column 9.2 million. So you said we spent 3.7 million. So we spent maybe about 30% of those funds. And then these funds go for what cleaning? What does that go to? The PPE exactly, the 9.2 million?
That is for the face masks, face shields, gloves.
Right. For county employees,
things like that. For county employees, for our first responders, hospitals, as well as our long-term care centers, and we also want to build up a cache, if you will, too, if there's a second wave. Again, for those.
Right. Excellent. Okay. A couple columns down from that, COVID-19 testing. It seems like from what you indicated, we really haven't spent much on that. Am I correct in that?
Correct, yes.
Okay. And so we did start, I believe, testing at the health department. So is that a part of this too, Vicki? Or it would be?
Yes.
Okay. And another question though. So what would this money be spent for, like an actual test kit? When we're saying COVID-19 testing, what does that mean in layman terms for me to understand that?
Sure, yeah. Essentially, you're looking, there's some rudimentary items. We have to get tents for the testing site, so that's part of it, supplies for the testing site. The largest portion will go, though, towards the lab kits themselves. And that really is getting the lab kits and then also sending that back to the vendor that actually does the specimen. And
they don't test on site, these kits, like from what I've heard.
We take the sample on site, right, but then we have to send that out to a lab for results.
Okay, how fast would we get the results, Vicki? I'm just curious.
We're estimating approximately a 3-day turnaround.
Really? Is there because I've heard, watching the news that they're trying to get testing that would be done the same day or instantly or within hours. Is that something that you're aware of?
We're aware of it, and we're aware of it, and basically those types of tests, there's not a lot of science behind them and reliability.
Gotcha.
So right now we're sticking with the most common and the most reliable testing source that is out there.
Okay. It's just interesting just looking at some of these funds, Vicki. My thoughts is with this COVID virus, obviously we're all in agreement that keeping people safe and healthy is the number one priority. I'd like to see, I'd like to see more money spent on that, or at least used in the proper way, for testing, because that's a very high priority for all of us. Okay. So now I just want to go under IT purchases. So my question here,
Commissioner Majak, can you yield the floor to another commissioner, and I'll come back to you on the second round?
sure, I'll yield. Go ahead. Yeah, I will. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Majak. We'll come back to you. Commissioner Haw.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Vicki, two things on the COVID testing. I realize we have the one place established over by the juvenile facility, and that looks like there's a line item budget there for that. At one point, we had talked about, or it had been talked about, establishing COVID testing facilities in the south end, like East Point and Roseville. Is that part of that funding, and is that still part of the plan? That was my first question. And the second one is, are we still short mask and PPE equipment? And by the way, excellent report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. One, to answer your first question, those sites in Roseville and East Point that we talked about were neighborhood testing sites that were a program that was being offered by the state. So that would come out of state funding. And as far as we know locally we have engaged, as well as the local jurisdictions have engaged with the state. But we're actually waiting on the state to get back to us on whether or not they're going to set those sites up. So that answers the neighborhood testing sites. And then the PPE, no, we're not necessarily short, but it is the whole process that with the number of the programs and the needs that we have for PPE, it's continuous ordering that we're doing to stay up with the vendors, keep it stocked. Obviously, we have to make sure we have enough room in the warehouse for what we're getting in, and then get that out to the door to whether it's the businesses, our own departments, first responders, things like that. So we have a pretty good system working for that. But no, the availability is better. It's just something that we're constantly doing and will be working on for the next several months.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Welcome.
Thank you. Commissioner Drollet.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Vicki, for the report. I've got two kind of quick questions on the business grants, and then one short follow-up question. The business grant questions are, and forgive me if I should know this, but what is the businesses allowed to use the money for? Is it strictly for PPE protection type equipment, or can they use it to recoup some lost revenues if they were, shut down by the state, or what are they allowed to use the money for?
Really for all of those categories. I mean, what we're trying to look at is their business losses that they've had through this process. But that's one area. They certainly could use it for PPE, because obviously even with the kits that we're providing, if they take advantage of that, that's probably not enough to sustain them for the coming months. So there's a number of different areas that they could essentially say that they're using that money for.
Okay. And another question on that is, the application, I assume, is available online for businesses. Is there a printed application or an application kit that, like, I could pick up and distribute to some businesses in my area to make sure they're aware of this option? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, everything's online. And part of that is because it's an automated process that's tied in with finance and some programs that we've utilized just to make it as efficient and as quick as possible.
Okay, so I could go online, and in theory, I could just print out essentially some of the parameters and a little. I guess I'm looking for a little piece of information I could physically hand to a small business in my area and say, "Hey, go online. Here's what you should look at and see if you qualify for any of this."
Correct. From that aspect, yes, you could print some of that information from the website. But yes, to do the actual application, that does have to be online.
Okay. And then this is an unrelated question. It might be a little more legal. I don't know if John is online or Corporation Counsel, but, an item, in the far left column of the report, there's a series of numbers. One of the numbers is 95600 luncheon. It's for a small amount, for $5,000. And my question is just kind of technical and legal in the sense that I was under the impression that we're not allowed to spend public dollars on luncheons unless they're available also to the public. I don't know if legal is there to answer the question, or if you know the answer to that question, Vicki. But I looked up that issue at one point some months ago, and the MMA states that you can't provide food or beverages unless it's available to the public, and I didn't know how that fits into this.
I don't know about that legal provision, so I can't answer that. I don't know if John Shapka is on the meeting by chance.
Okay, if John's not there, then I'll follow up with that with John, Vicki. And
Okay.
Those are my only questions. Thanks again for the report. I greatly appreciate it.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you, Vicki. On the question of the website, to go to the website and download applications, I was on the website, and quite frankly, it was a little confusing. I don't think it's the average of business owner who goes there and can pull that information out there as easily, because there's a lot of other things we're advertising on our website there, a lot of other good programs that we're doing. And in my opinion, it wasn't promptly put out there in the way that people could actually see it when they're looking for it, given the fact it's such a focus of our effort to try to assist businesses. I think it got drowned out at best.
Right, for that. Sorry.
Maybe that's by intention. I don't know.
No, it's the application process really doesn't open till tomorrow. So while you can get to it through the COVID website and that page, starting tomorrow, it will have its own block on the county's main webpage. So when you first go to our macombgov.org, there will be a block. So it'll be easier. It's just because process doesn't open till tomorrow. So we're not showcasing it yet.
I've been called impatient. I guess that's what I get. So
no, that's okay. That's no, fine. I get it.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Romano.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Vicki.
Hello.
Vicki, when they talk about total transparency, boy, if anybody has any questions about how we're spending this money, shame on them, because you've got every line. We've asked for this, and boy, did we ask for it, and you gave it. And again, I commend you on it. It is total transparency on just about on every dollar is spent. Two short questions. The list are actually statement for one. The list of small businesses who get the $5,000 or who applied to 129, I think it said 129. May we get that list before you put that out to the general public, Vicki, so that maybe we can contact our constituents before it goes out to the general public? That's number one. And
Yep.
Number two is, okay, thank you. And number two is the people that were tested at the juvenile building. Do you have any numbers for us? That's the number of people that were tested, approximately.
Sure, no problem. One on the business list, yes, we can make that available to you prior to, and then in talking with Steve with the way we're going to do our updates and the way the system works with the checks that are cut, you'll be able to see that too on an ongoing basis and see who those checks were cut to, but we can do it beforehand as well. And then in regards to the testing on Monday, we did employees. I believe we did approximately 65 employees came through and got tested. And I know as of today, right now, our first go round, we estimated being able to do 4 people per hour. So basically for the time that we're open, 100 tests a day. We think we're going to be able to do a little more based on the past 2 days. But I know when I was there this morning, so if you're looking at roughly 50 people, I think we had close to about 40 people that came through. So, 10 that weren't able to come. And then we're going to be, there are some people who drive up without appointments. So we're taking a look at trying to accommodate them as well. Though the best way to do it is by appointment.
Perfect. Thanks, Vicki. You answered my
You're
questions,
welcome.
gave my statement. Appreciate it. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Commissioner Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hi, Vicki. Thanks for the report. Forgive me if this answer is somewhere in the report. I didn't have a whole lot of time to look at it because we just got it today. But on page 2, in under supplies medical, you have a bunch of comments as to what was purchased, how much, things like that. Can that continue with appropriations, special projects, special needs? Is there a way that you can continue to fill in those comments to kind of make it a little bit more clear for me, or is it somewhere else on the sheet that I'm not seeing?
No, for this report, last month we did that.
Right.
This report, since it was kind of an intermediary, if you will, because you'll get our bigger, fuller report at the end of the month. We just highlighted the 2 main categories where the budget went up between between May 21st when we were last before you to now. But yes, our intent is to always have that comment section filled in.
Okay. Thank you,
So
Vicki.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Majek on the second round, if you choose to speak.
I'll pass, Don.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other commissioners? I don't see anyone on the list. Seeing none, I'll need a motion to approve and receive and file the report.
Motion by Romano.
Support.
Support by Duje. Very good. Commissioner by Romano, supported by Duje. Please vote. Thank you very much. That motion passes. Thank you, Vicki, for your continued work, and thank your whole team on our behalf. You're making it seem seamless, and I'm sure it's not as easy as you make it look like. So we appreciate you and your team. Thank you.
Nope. Thanks. Yep, they're all doing a great job. Thank you very much for your support.
You have it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next item is 6 is appointment. Get the Macomb County Art Authority executive appointment with the board concurrence of William Wood. This is an opportunity. Is Mr. Wood here? This is a reappointment of Mr. Wood.
No, he is not going to be on today.
Okay. All right. We need a motion to receive and file the correspondence associated with the reappointment. Can I please have a motion to
Motion by Hall.
Motion by Commissioner Haw.
Support by Leonetti.
Thank you, Commissioner Leonetti. Please vote.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, wouldn't this be a motion to forward to full board?
Correct.
Yes, well, let me erase that and then put it down to motion to full board.
So move.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Support.
Thank you. Okay. All those in favor, please vote. Thank you very much. Item 7 is the department recommendations. We have a bypass request for the cost share agreement with Shelby Township on resurfacing Starlight Drive from north of 24 Mile Road to Woodmere Drive, $61,000. Can I have a motion to approve this?
So moved by Caravelli.
I have support.
Support by Leonetti.
Very good. Thank you. Is there any discussions on this item? Seeing none, I need a motion to, we've got a motion made and supported. Will please vote. Motion is approved. Item 7B, amend Board of Commissioners. Yes, sir. Amendment, item 6B, amend Board of Commissioners rules. 6.
Motion to
Rule
approve
6.
Ducey.
There's support?
Support Lucido.
All right, very good. Is there any discussion on this item? Any discussion? Seeing none, I need a motion to. Please vote. Thank you very much. Motion passes. Next item is resolutions. Resolutions A, to approve MDOT bid and construction of Bruce Township Trail. And resolution, let's take them separately. Resolution 8A, resolution approves MDOT's bid and construction of the Bruce Township Trail. This agreement formalized the Bruce Township with the county and Macomb to maintain that trail that they're building. There's no cost to the county.
So
I need a
moved,
motion
Mr.
to
Chairman.
approve.
Carabelli.
Thank you, Commissioner Carabelli. Is there support?
Support
Need a
Hall.
support
by Romano.
Okay, supported by Commissioner Romano. Please vote. Is there any discussion on this? Very good. Please vote. Thank you very much. Items, resolution 6B, to approve MDOT bid contracts for Clinton Township Trail. I need a motion on this one as well.
Chair, I'll make the motion.
Support Carabelli.
Very good. Any discussion? Same issues as A. All those in, please vote. Very good. Thank you. Item 9A is a proclamation commending Roy Rose upon his retirement from Henderson Eckstein.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Support Ducey.
Seconded by Sauger. Yeah. The whole board will probably be on this
Mr.
one,
Chair.
so. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, Roy will be available at our full board meeting. So if we hold our comments till then, and he'll be on our meeting on the 25th.
Very good. Thank you for that information. Need a motion. We made a motion that's made and supported. I need a vote. Thank you very much. Item 10 is new business. Is there any new business that come before the committee? Any new business? I don't see anybody with new business. Item 11 is public participation. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to be heard? Press *6 on your phone to be heard. Anyone from the public?
Sad to see Ray Rose retire, but he's a good man.
Yes. Any other public comment, public participation? Seeing none, we'll close public participation. Item 12 is adjourned.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chair. Drollet. Motion to adjourn.
Very good. Moved by Gillette, supported by Duje. Please vote. Thank you, everyone. Have a good afternoon, and we'll talk to you soon.
Stay safe, guys. See you tomorrow.
Very good.